Hello, Namaste, Hare Krishna. So for several days we've been going through a morning routine that's hopefully healthy, and we've reached our favourite part of the morning routine, which is breakfast. So we'll be talking about food-related things today. But the last things we talked about were exercise and meditation before breakfast. So we'd just like to mention a couple things more about that. So I'd mentioned good exercises for a Vedic type of routine are yoga and walking, swimming. But other ones are gardening, and that's one of the main things actually I do for a means of livelihood is gardening. But that's great exercise too, growing food, whatever you're growing, and then it's keeping your body moving and all the parts and everything like that. That's good exercise. So gardening is a great exercise. And also, believe it or not, wrestling. You can't believe it, right? So wrestling, why is that? What's the benefits of that? And because last time I said that most of the modern sports like rugby and soccer and so forth are no good for us. They're very passionate and it leads to suffering. So what's different about wrestling from all that? And what it is that it brings us in touch with the earth. That's the special thing about wrestling that's beneficial, is that contact with Mother Earth. So that brings more, goodness into us, grounding. It's a big subject these days. Earthing, they call it earthing or grounding. Just coming into contact, walking on the bare earth, having your hands like gardening. Also another benefit of gardening, having your hands in the earth. That takes all the negative energies out of us, and our Earth Mother is giving us good energies back. And there's scientifically shown many benefits of being in contact with the earth, like when you're sleeping. And there's things you can get for your bed too, called grounding mats or earthing mats, and you have that under your bed sheet and pillow and like that, and it keeps you, and you're plugged into the house's electricity system, which ends up in an earthing rod. So through that into the earthing rod, you're connected with the earth while you're sleeping, and there's so many benefits there. So that's the idea with wrestling. Just that contact with the earth is very good for us. And about meditation, I was saying how these mantras are a spiritual sound vibration, and it helps us to control the mind and cleanse our consciousness and everything, so many benefits like that. But just like to say some evidence I personally have experienced about these mantras, that they are spiritual and then they're not material, is that, like in our personal case, we've been chanting this Hare Krishna mantra every day for at least more than 30 years, for at least an hour and a half every day. And I haven't got bored of it because I'm still doing it after so many decades. Whereas if it was material sounds, you pick even your favorite material sounds, like let's say Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. You see how long you can chant that for. Can you chant it for hours every day? Can you chant it every day? For weeks on end, months on end, years on end? No way, because it's material and you're going to get bored of it. It's going to become hackneyed and dry and no taste anymore, just repeating the same thing. But like, we can keep repeating Hare Krishna and Rama and the mantra for years and decades and everything, and it gets better and better. So it's definitely a spiritual vibration, And like they say, the test of the pudding is in the tasting. So yeah, just give it a try, and it's the best way that we can get a grip on our mind and turn the mind inwardly and find the real peace, the real happiness within ourselves. And otherwise we're always being victimized by our trying to search for happiness in the outside world, and it's very elusive. And so we'll leave it there with that. These are just little snippet bits of information. There's so much more can be said on all these topics, but just a little bit to get you started. And welcome, do your own research. Should always ask questions and try to find answers. That's the specialty of human life. We have a good brain, good intelligence, that we can ask questions and we can get answers. Who am I? Why am I here? Why am I suffering? Why am I sick? How can I become healthy? Like that. So these kind of questions and answers, we have that opportunity. So you're talking about breakfast now. So as I mentioned in the post, that through food is one of the main ways, through your diet is one of the main ways that Ayurveda, tries to keep us in good health. And if we do get some disease, try to bring that back into good health through the diet. So what diet? We know there's so many diets like that are coming up. And is this just another one of those diets? The macro diet and the, microbiotic or whatever. Macrobiotic and so many different things. And this is very unique in that it looks into a understanding of our unique psychophysical nature, which has come about through a combination of the 5 main elements of the material world: earth, water, fire, air and space. And those 5 elements combine differently to create different energies, 3 main energies. So when air and space combine to create a vata energy or movement, it's an energy of movement, and fire and water combine to create the pitta energy, which is like digesting and metabolism and heat. It's the energy of heat. And then when earth and water combine, and that creates the kapha energy, or the energy of like the structure and foundation and like that. So our bodies are made up of unique combinations of these 3 energies, vata, kapha and pitta. And that is from birth, at the time of conception, depending on our parents' energies and the energy and the time of the year and the foods they've been eating and so many different factors, we end up with all a unique combinations of these 3 energies. And generally, we all have all 3, without any doubt. But what usually happens is that there'll be a predominance of one of those energies in us. And if we're, say, predominant in that energy of movement or air, then we'll be called vata. That's a vata body type. And if there's a predominance in that heat or fire, then we'll be called pitta. If there's a predominance in the heavy solid structure, then that would be kapha. Or what might happen is we might have a similar amount of 2 of them, or one a little bit more than the other, but just mainly two of the 3. So then that person would be vata pitta or pitta kapha, like that. So then the person would be identified as they've got 2 of those energies more, and that would be like pitta kapha, like that. if the pitta was more and kapha was left, they'd say pitta kapha. If the kapha was more and the pitta was less, they'd say kapha pitta, like that. And then very rarely someone's got an equal amount of all three. So that's called tri doshik. So tri means three, and dosha means those energies. So they have an equal amount of those three, and that's quite rare. Such a person would be normally very healthy. So we have that from birth until we die, that particular energetic constitution. So what happens as time goes on, we get a lot of external influences through the weather and through our diet and emotional states like stress and so many things, and that affects this healthy balance of these three doshas that we have from birth. That gets affected by external things, and that can take us out of the balance. So that particular combination of energies or doshas that we have from birth is called prakriti, and the current combination of energies that we have right now, after we've been influenced by some external factors, that's called vikriti. So if the current situation now is quite far away from what our natural harmony is in those energies, then that can be a cause of disease, going away from our center, our normal energetic balance. So that's what we want to be aware. We want to know these things and be conscious of these things, and have awareness of these things, so that we're going away from our natural balance in these essential energies, vata, kapha, and pitta. So one way we can bring them back into balance or keep the balance is if we understand also what effect different foods have on these different energies. Like some foods will increase the vata, other foods will decrease the vata. Some will increase pitta, reduce pitta. You get the idea. So if your vata is getting too much, you definitely don't want to be eating foods that increase vata. You want to be eating foods that reduce the vata, like that. So this is the kind of knowledge we need. First of all, we need to identify what our body type is. And like I'd mentioned a couple of days ago, if you don't already know, if you haven't already seen an Ayurvedic doctor or haven't read a book about Ayurveda or filled in a quiz or whatever, then I recommend just online you can just type in dosha quiz, DOSHA, dosha quiz, and there's many of them. Just take your pick. Just getting a rough idea about what your particular dosha makeup is, and then you can understand what foods will help you to bring your dosha into balance more, like that. Like my particular makeup is I have maximum vata and a little bit of pitta and not much kapha. So generally I need to eat foods that reduce the vata and sometimes reduce the pitta a little bit, but not too much, because I have the vata, I need to get some fire going, like that. So yeah, so first of all, find out what your body type is. And I'm not saying you have to go to an Ayurvedic doctor, or it's not bad to do that, but it costs money in that. But initially, just to develop some understanding of how it works would be useful. And then if you do take more interest in it, then there's no harm going to an Ayurvedic doctor. But yeah, just look up the dosha quiz, fill it out. It'll give you an understanding what body type you have. Then you can also do a bit of research and look into the foods. I'll give you a few little basic ideas. Like the characteristics of vata is that very light, very dry, cold, like that. Mind is going very fast, so anxiety, fear, stress, like that. Emotionally, that's like the emotional state of Vata. Because there's a lot of air moving, so that's also making the mind go faster. So the mind is, racing around extra fast. And so that's some characteristics of Vata. So you'll see a Vata type of person, like I said, light. So they tend to be very skinny. Even they might eat a lot, but very thin. And maybe tall, maybe short, but thin, and not putting on weight. But can lose weight and become more thin, but hard to put on weight. Sorry for that. And they tend to have small bones, thin bones and everything like that, and not, and dry skin. So it's dry. So dry skin, dry hair. Brittle teeth, brittle fingernails, toenails, like that, everything dry and brittle, just dry, flaky skin, dry lips, everything dry, and cold hands, coldness, so cold hands, cold feet, always feeling cold, and weak digestion, like this, it's just cold inside, not much fire, so weak digestion, suffer from constipation, these kind of diseases. Like that, the Vata kind of person will end up getting these kind of diseases with the digestion and coldness and everything like that. And so what kind of external factors can we do to help to mitigate that now that we know that? So one thing is keep warm, right? If we're cold, then cold body type, winter time will be a difficult time for a Vata person. Winter time will be a difficult time. So stay out of the cold. And if you do have to go in the cold, wrap up in lots of warm clothing. And don't eat cold foods. Don't eat cold foods. Don't eat things out of the fridge. No cold milk or cold yogurt. Things need to be heated up. You need to have soups and, hot things, steamed or baked or heated some way. But see, Vata is very attracted to eating raw food. We love salads, like I love salad, but it's not good for me. I love raw fruit, but too much of it's also hard for me to digest. The Vata will find it hard to digest things that are raw and cold. Actually, it's easier to digest things that are cooked than raw. If you have a good digestion, then raw food is perfect. Like Pitta has a very good digestion, so they can eat raw food and cold food, no problem. Salads and lots of fruits, and that's perfect for Pitta. It'll help cool the Pitta down, which is too hot. So eating foods to cool down the Pitta will be very good, but not for Vata. So that's what I'm saying, like there's a saying, right? One man's food is another man's poison. So, it's not the same for everyone. And like Pitta, for example, they have got a lot of heat there. So if they eat a lot of chilies, which they're attracted to, chilies and black pepper and ginger and all these kind of things, and in the summertime, going out in the hot sun and playing tennis or something, it's all these things are going to take us more away from our balance. So like I'm saying, we need to be conscious of who we are, what is our nature and everything, what things will be good for us and not, like that, what foods will have a good effect and not. And once we're aware of those things, then we can use that. So two important principles in Ayurveda is that like increases like. So what do I mean? Example is, like I said, if you have coldness inside you, if you have a cold body and you go out into the cold winter weather, then that's going to increase the coldness inside you. you know. If you're a pitta, you have a lot of heat inside you. You go out in the blazing hot summer and play tennis, you know, like that, then, you know, running around and, you know, increasing the fire even more, then you're going to be having serious problems. So it's going to increase it like, increases like. And the other important principle is opposites decrease each other. So we should know these principles. So, like I said, that opposites decrease each other. So, example is, so just like if I'm cold inside, then I need something hot, which is opposite, to bring that up, you know. So that will balance, that will create balance. I've got too much cold, I'll bring in heat, and that will increase the cold. So the heat will go down by my cold, and the heat will bring up the cold, like that. So, and like the pitta in the summer should, you know, got a lot of heat inside, should go for a cold, you know, swim, a swim in cold water, you know, bring down the heat. Opposite, bring down the heat. You know, they can drink a cool drink, not necessarily out of the fridge, but just room temperature cool, you know, some cool drink like that. And or eat some food that is cooling, like cucumber is cooling, coriander leaves are cooling, you know, like that. Some cooling, watermelon, you know, cooling down. So these are important principles that we learn in Ayurveda. And then you can prepare meals that are best suited to your particular body type. Otherwise, what we're doing, if you just randomly eat anything, then you take great risk of getting further and further away from your natural constitutional energy position, the doshas, and the prakriti, getting further and further away from that. And that's when the diseases can come so much. And that's such a better way to deal with it right then and there with the food that we eat. Eat the right foods, and then you don't have to get sick, and then have to take so many horrible medicines, spend so much money on, you know, operations and everything like that. And then you really enjoy what you're eating. You'll feel, you know, healthier. So, like for me, for example, as Vata for breakfast, we'd only be eating warm foods. Even if I was going to eat fruits like apples, I would have to stew the apples. So have stewed apples for breakfast because I'm Vata. You know, but if someone was Pitta or whatever, then or Kapha, then that would be fine to have just raw apples, you know, for breakfast like that. So I'd have definitely a warm breakfast, and for me, like grains, because I'm light, so I need something heavy food. So eating some grains like wheat, like roti, chapati, like that, with some nice hot soup or curry or whatever, with some spices. The spices also introduce heat, so I need that heat, so some spices are good like that. And dairy products are very heavy, so that also helps too. Now it's opposite to what I am, light, so I need that heaviness. Whereas Kapha, which is heavy, Kapha, very heavy person, they don't want to be having heavy food. Like dairy, too much dairy is not good for Kapha. You know, and too much grains, not good for Kapha. So for them, more light food, you know, like certain fruits, you know, salads, hot soups, you know, very easy to digest and things like that. Dry foods are good for them. They tend to Kaphas a lot of moisture, a lot of water, and very heavy. So you don't want to add too much water. They suffer from mucus-related diseases, you know, congestion and coughing and sinuses and all these kind of ailments of a Kapha kind of person. You know, so that can be mitigated or counteracted just by eating more lighter foods and more drier foods. Whereas the Vata's opposite. It needs moist foods because we're dry, so it needs moist foods and heavy foods. And Pitta needs to eat cooling foods, not foods that heat you up more. They've already got too much heat, foods that cooling down. So yeah, once we identify our body type, then the next step is to identify how the different foods will affect your body type, either positively, bringing you back to balance, or negatively taking you away from that balance. And then, food will be medicine for you. And then, okay, so then you've created this meal, which is according to your body type. Then how to eat it. The best way to eat it is by actually sitting cross-legged, not at a chair with our feet on the ground. Because that cross-legged position, as I mentioned in the yoga talk, that Padmasana or the half lotus or like that, or Sukhasana, any of those three positions, cross-legged basically, is ideal for digestion. So you'll digest the food better if you sit cross-legged, believe it or not. And that's just the way the organs work and everything. It's the best position for digestion. And also what upsets the digestion is any movement. So between when you start eating and finish eating, the least movement possible, the better. So what doesn't move much? Well, the ground, unless there's an earthquake. Then it's very stable. So being on the ground, whereas at a chair may rock around a bit, which is not so good. Like I'm sitting in a chair now, but I'm sitting cross-legged because actually it's better posture. Like that. But if I eat at the table, I will try to sit cross-legged on the chair at the table. But the chair, can't have sides on it, otherwise you can't sit cross-legged. But so either option is there, on the floor or on a chair. But try to sit cross-legged. If you can't sit cross-legged, then just do the best you can. Don't worry about it. But then through practice, like I could never sit cross-legged when I was 20 years old when I met the Hare Krishnas. But just by living with them and learning the things, then after some time, it's no problem sitting cross-legged. Now for 30 years, I've been sitting cross-legged. So yeah, practice makes perfect. So sitting cross-legged is very good. And then eating with your hand, with your right hand. There is all the elements, like I mentioned in the body, all the elements are in your different fingertips: earth, water, fire, air, and space. Five fingers, 5 elements, like that. And there's sensors in the fingertips. So when you touch the food, it's with your fingertips, it sends a signal to your stomach to get the right digestive juices and everything going so that you can digest the meal. There's no sensors in your spoon and knife and fork so that are connected with the stomach. So when you just shovel it in the mouth, then there's no warning, no preparation, everything. They don't have those particular receptors in the mouth that's in the fingertips that connected with the stomach there. So then you lose some of that benefit to your digestion, create difficulty there. So actually your eating with your hand will help you to digest the food. You need to do 2 things to be able to apply this. Wash your hands before you eat and wash your hands after you eat. And then you can do it, and it's very good. And then you can save money. Don't need to buy utensils. Don't need to wash utensils. Only have to wash your hand. So it's very efficient like that. I showed in the post that, eating off a banana leaf, because there's digestive enzymes in the banana leaf that go into the food, and then you eat that. That helps you digest. So even your plate can help you digest. Eating off these leaves like banana, lotus is also a wonderful one. There'll be other ones too. Every country has certain, plants that are very good for us like that. So we should take advantage of these things will help us in our health. And then, so your posture is important. And like I say, don't move. So if the phone rings and you're eating, what do? Don't answer the phone if you care about your health. If you don't care about the health, do what you like. So don't pick up the phone, Can you concentrate on talking to someone on the other side of the world and on concentrate on what you're eating at the same time? No. Neither are you going to be concentrating on your call properly, and neither are you going to concentrate on what you're eating properly. If you don't concentrate on what you're eating, do you think you're going to digest it very well? No. So don't do anything else. Don't watch TV. Don't go and change the channel. There's nothing is more important than our health. So we should be prepared to sacrifice other things for that, The phone rings, let it ring. It'll go into answer phone. Talk to them later. You can watch sports anytime. Turn it off. Don't get distracted. When you're eating, just eat. It seems so simple, but it's like so difficult to follow, isn't it? When you're eating, just eat. Even don't talk too much. Or if you with other people there, even some light conversation is nice, create a happy mood and everything like that. But don't be so absorbed in your conversation you also not even conscious what you're eating. You won't digest the food very well. You should be concentrating. Oh, this is a nice sweet taste. This is a nice sour taste. This is very, a bitter taste. This is a stringent taste. This is pungent, hot taste. There are 6 different tastes. Sweet, sour, salty, astringent, bitter, pungent. In order to fully enjoy a meal and to feel fully satisfied and be able to digest the meal, all these 6 flavors are there. That's why, although my wife and I know how to cook Italian food, Mexican, Chinese food, we mainly cook Indian food because it's the best for the health, because you've got all these different spices and different kind of ingredients that introduce these other tastes, which is so important for the health. Western diet mainly only has sweet, sour and salty, and maybe a little bit of hot food with black pepper or something. But then we're missing the bitter and missing the astringent. And then if that's the case, then you won't be satisfied after you eat your fish and chips. And neither you'll digest it. It'll be like a rock in your stomach because all you had was sweet, sour and salty. And by sweet, I'm not just talking about sugar. Sweet means some foods have a sweet taste, like there's sweet fruits, right? There's sour fruits. But there's sweet grains, like rice and wheat and oats are sweet. But there's other grains that are not sweet like that. So astringent like that. So it's important to get all these different tastes and to be conscious of them, that what kind of flavors you're eating and that. Otherwise you won't digest it, So please put aside the other things. Light conversations, okay. Definitely don't get angry, talking angry, aggressive while you're trying to eat. You're going to wreck your digestion if people get angry at the dining table like that. And no business, because that's also going to create anxiety and stress, right? If you talk about business, let's go to a cafe and talk business over lunch. No, don't mix your lunch with a business talk, because neither of you guys are going to, business partners or whatever, are going to digest, and you're probably going to end up getting cancer in a few years like that. So, it's so important. The essence of your health, according to Ayurveda, is your digestion. It all starts with digestion. So we need to be very careful with our digestion. And so sit very peacefully. Have some nice music playing like that, or some positive affirmation philosophy or spiritual talks or something. I do that all the time, even like while I'm doing yoga, right? I'm not just mentally out while I'm doing the exercises. I listen to some philosophical spiritual talks like that, or some spiritual music, mantra music and stuff like that. And it's great. Always keep your mind engaged, and intelligence like that is all contributing towards our good health. And also chewing the food. So chewing the food, actually Ayurveda recommends each mouthful 32 times. Now that's the ideal. I'm not saying we can all do that, chew each mouthful 32 times. But at least, 10 is better than 5, or 20 times is better than 10. So whatever you're doing, just try to chew it a bit better. It should be completely mashed up before it passes down into the throat. if you got big chunks and lumps going down there, did you realise there's no more teeth? No more teeth down below the mouth, you know. So this is the area we have to completely chew it and mash it up like that. And these are all different factors that will help us with our health. And one saying that's quite nice is that eat breakfast like a prince, lunch like a king, and dinner like a pauper. Pauper is an old word. It means like just a completely broke poor person. You know, because actually our digestion isn't so strong in the morning. It's actually maximum strength in the middle of the day when the sun is highest in the sky. That's when the fire in our stomach is at its highest. So the main meal, biggest meal we should have in the middle of the day. But breakfast is also important meal, because like break fast, right? So you've been fasting the whole night, right? The whole night since sometime the day before you ate, you've been fasting, so break fast breakfast. So it's actually quite an important meal. But don't completely, you know, drop a bomb, you know, of a massive meal of heavy stuff, deep fried and sweets and that in the morning. You know, it can just be light, something nice and warm and light in that in the morning, and then have your main meal at lunch, and then very light food at night is recommended by Ayurveda for the health. But of course, in modern day society, it makes that very hard, doesn't it? You know, hard people don't get a chance to eat until they come back from work at night. But that's the worst thing to do for your health. So if you want to save your health, you have to fight against that. That's the modern tide of society, but we have to fight against that tide to save our health at any cost. So even when I had an outside job, 9-to-5 job, what I did was I cooked a fresh breakfast for myself and the family, and I made lunch for myself and the family before I went to work. And I ate the breakfast at home and took the lunch with me to work in thermoses and that to keep it hot. And then I ate my main meal at the proper time, at lunchtime, and then I just had a little bit, you know, hot milk and cookie or whatever at night. And that was perfect for my health. And even though, you know, society didn't make it easy for me, but, you know, I did it because I valued that. So, like they say, you know, anything's possible, you know, if you have the, where there's a will, there's a way, that's right. Where there's a will, there's a way. You know, so that just meant I had to get up really early. So what? So I went to bed early. It's not that I couldn't sleep much, you know. Most people, they go to bed at midnight or whatever, and they get up at 8. Okay, so how many hours? 8 hours. Yeah, but if I go to bed at 9 and get up at 5, it's still 8 hours. But I've just shifted the time I'm sleeping. You know, so, and then in that early morning time, I've got time, if I wake up early, to you know, to drink water and go to the toilet and gargle oil and clean my teeth properly, scrape my tongue and go to the toilet and have a shower, put on clean clothes, do yoga, do meditation, cook breakfast, cook lunch. I've got time because I got up early. And then you're like all prepared to face the world, to go out and face the world. It's like you've got your spiritual armor on. You've got your material and spiritual mental armor on. You've ate the nice proper food according to what your body needs, and you've done some yoga and meditation for your mind and your soul and everything like that. Heard some philosophy. So physically, mentally, intellectually, spiritually, you're strong to face whatever the world throws at you. And I tell you, the morning is the best time to do it because you got most control over what happens in the morning in your own home. But I tell you, once you go out the door, as you know, and go into that traffic or whatever, then you don't know what's going to happen, mate. All hell could break loose today. But you don't have much control. I mean, you can't do much of a routine after you leave the home, you know. So, but the best chance you have to set yourself up for healthy on all levels is in the morning. Okay. So please let me know if you have any comments or questions, and wishing you all the very best. Hope this meets you in good health.